everybody, this is the Wild Ass Podcast, and I am your host, Wild Ass Craig. This is episode 29, and in this episode, I get to introduce all of you to Troy Porter. He's a guy many of you may not have heard of before, but has been behind the scenes in the motorcycle industry for many years. I was with a previous employer when I met Troy. Back then, he was my buyer at J&P Cycles. We've both moved on from those roles, but being in the motorcycle industry, we still saw each other throughout the years, often at rallies and events. In this episode, I hope to introduce all of you and help you get to know my friend, Troy Porter. Troy, welcome to the show.
Well, Craig, thank you for having me on today. I'm humbled to be a part of your podcast and looking forward to it.
Good. So I mentioned you've been in the industry for many years. We're going to talk about how you got into the industry, but you were the buyer of my product back for the company I worked for many years ago, right? I'm not misremembering that.
No, that was probably halfway through my first stint at J&P Cycles.
Yeah.
Many years ago when we were introduced and got met through a couple of mutual friends. And
then you ended up being my buyer and we just became friends and we've never lost touch, which is really cool.
No, it's a small industry, and all of us people that were in the rally family or whatever you want to call it, we see each other down the road here or over there. So we never really get to because we're always hustling and always staying busy.
Right.
Never have the opportunity to lose touch.
Speaking of busy schedules, I know it's kind of been a process getting us together, and I know we're on a little bit of a short window this morning, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to sit with here and get this done.
No problem. It's good to do something a little different from day to day. It breaks the monotony of the planning, the scheduling, and everything that I have to do. So it's a nice little break for today.
Good.
Especially on a Friday.
Yeah, so everybody knows by now the show's recorded. We're both in a mad scramble getting ready to head off to Daytona, which officially, just so you know, you're my first tardy podcast of the year, but that's okay. We're going to get it done. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Because what happens is these events are going to start whether we're there or not, so that's not really an option.
No, there is no option. And we're past the freak out planning stage now, and it's just, all right, let's go make it happen.
Yep.
Do whatever we got to do to make it successful.
Exactly. So share with the listeners your history. Where did you grow up? Where did you live?
All right. So I grew up in a small town of Monticello, Iowa. Spent my entire childhood there, which is, a town of 5,000 in between some cornfields in the middle of really nowhere. So I spent the most of my youth, causing trouble, riding bikes, swimming, just a good old Midwestern kid, detasseling corn, baling hay, doing whatever we could do to get a few bucks in our pocket to buy more parts or whatever we need to.
And when you grew up, at what age did you get into the military? Which, by the way, thank you for that. So explain what you did. Tell us that story.
All right. So 18 years old, I enlisted into the Marine Corps, and that really is the big credit to, or one of the big credits to the man I turned into today. It's instilled the discipline and the brotherhood and camaraderie into my life. The motto of the Marine Corps is Semper Fidelis, which I try to live to still today. 25 years later, it made a big impression on me, and they did a great job of shaping me into a decent human being.
It's funny you say 25 years later. I'm like, no, we're not old enough for that yet.
No, I am. I'm getting ready for my 30th high school reunion here pretty soon, I think.
Yep, that was mine.
93.
Not too long ago.
Jeepers creepers.
Yeah, that's crazy. So
wow.
When did you get out? How long were you in?
So I went in twice. I got out the first time in 1998. And while I was in the first time, I took was really, really new at the time for online school and got into diesel mechanics. And I spent a couple of years doing that, but it just was not my thing. Working on semis was the job that I first took, and it wasn't my bag. So when I came back from California to Iowa, went back to my small town and in Monticello, which is real close to Animosa, where J&P Cycles is. That's where I got my first start into the motorcycle industry. So that's kind of my transition from military to motorcycles.
Okay. That question was coming up. How did you get into motorcycles? Like, did it come from having the job at J&P, or were you into motorcycles before?
So I've always loved motorcycles. Like I can't even tell you how old I was when I started, liking motorcycles. But so I've always been a fan, and I've had bikes, from uh, another one that I don't remember. So I'm horrible with this date for Greg. But just as long as I can remember, I've always loved motorcycles. So it just seemed to be a natural fit. And after when I realized I wasn't, diesel mechanics wasn't my thing, I bounced around and I did a couple of jobs. I worked for a lumber yard or a sawmill, and I poured concrete, just trying to find my path. And while I was pouring a huge warehouse expansion in Animosa at J&P, I was out in the mud and rain and just wasn't feeling it that day. And they seen that they were hiring there. So I'm like, well, let's give it a shot. So I went in and applied and got hired on at J&P and never looked back.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah, it is. It was just, I don't know. I'll see how it's just so strange to me because how much I love it being in the industry.
Yeah.
Is how come I didn't realize this sooner? And all them times where I spent, the few years in between diesel and J&P there, the time that I could have been spent, doing something that I love doing. So,
yeah.
But another thing that I don't really want to change because that's another thing that formed me into who I am today.
Well, and oftentimes if you just start in the motorcycle industry at like these kids that do get hired young, almost like they don't appreciate how fun it really is because it's all they know. And where you got to go out and do some real shit work, then all of a sudden, it's like, man, this is pretty cool. I kind of like keep my hands clean and helping talk to people about stuff they love doing.
Yeah, so that's where. So when I first started at J&P, I was working in the receiving department, and even then, at that point, it was a job. It was we'll call it a 9 to 5, and there was good benefits and stuff like that. I was just starting my family with my at that time future wife. And so all that stuff got really important really quick. And, that's where my love for the motorcycles and the passion for the industry kind of took over. And I just worked through several positions at J&P Cycles until I ended up as your buyer right before I left.
Yeah. So tell us about some of those. I mean, in what year was that you left? It had to be 2011, 12,
no,
somewhere in there?
No, I stuck it out till I think 2016 is when I left.
It was.
Or 2017 is when I left J&P Cycles the first time, and I went to S&S in Wisconsin. But my transit, so I worked a year as a receiver, and this is where my job turned into a career. Is the Sturgis event was coming up, and here I am in the warehouse, and I'm counting parts and putting them away and doing this and that, and okay with it. And Jill Parham walks by, and I say, "Hey, Jill, I would love to go to Sturgis. If there's any room or you're taking volunteers, I'll do whatever I could do to go out there." And she said that she'd take me out, and that's where I got exposed to the rally culture, to the people, and to the customers, and helping everybody and everything. And that's where it turned from a job to a career for me. That day, my first Sturgis rally is when it turned in from a job to a career.
So you knew then that that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the draw? Yeah, right. What was the draw though? Like you say, you knew right then that's what you wanted to do. So I'm curious. I don't know that I've ever asked anybody the question, what was your draw to the industry, to that side of it?
So it was just how to explain it. It was just how everything came together, and we had this huge crew of people that were, setting up the store because, at that time it wasn't all year round store. So we would go out there, and my first one I didn't get to, but people would go out there, for a month before the rally, bring in millions of dollars in inventory, turn this empty building into this amazing store that you couldn't tell wasn't there all day long or all year long.
What the rest of the year it was a car dealership or something, wasn't it?
Yes, they had to. The person that was leasing the building or whatever from the car dealership had to leave for. I think by the end of June they had to be out, and then at the end of August they got to come back in. So that was pretty neat. But one of my favorite memories, and I think if you ever talk to Jill, she'll still laugh about it, was, so I was out there, when I went out to my first service, I didn't know that it was all day job. It wasn't, I was expecting my 9 to 5. So I was like, I'm going out to South Dakota. I'm looking at all this stuff. I bring in my fly rod and my tackle box, and I bring all that stuff out with me. And Jill's looking like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's my fishing rod and lures for, after work or before work in the morning. I'll go out and try to do some fishing. And anybody who's listening on the podcast who's heard Jill crack up, she just busted up laughing right there. And because I didn't know what this rally, so I didn't know what I got myself into by volunteering to go to the rally.
Yeah.
And, it was a 8 to 8 ordeal, and when you're done at the end of the day, you can go downtown and do this and that, but you're tired and you're not going to want to go out and, walk or go fishing and walk upstream and all that stuff. I wanted to, there was no way that was happening. So I went out there and never got to touch my tackle box and fishing pole until I was loading it back in the van when we all came home at the end of the rally.
That's funny that you have that story, because so many people, and I'm sure you still hear it, well, maybe not as much now, and I don't hear it as much anymore, but people, when we talk to them and we say, yeah, we're heading out to Sturgis for, 19 days or 20 days or something, they're like, oh, that's got to be a blast, man. You got to have so much fun, just party all the time. It's like, yeah, well, I really love it. It really is a blast. I don't know about the partying thing, though, because we don't really get a lot of time or energy to do it in our case, because we got to be up and sharp right away in the morning. So it's funny.
Well, and 20 years ago, it wasn't quite as hard. So now when I go out to Sturgis and do the rallies and stuff like that, it's almost, if any, very little partying involved. And so my first year, I cut it up and I had a great time out there. But as my experience, my responsibility and everything grew with doing the rallies and helping at the rallies, I learned, I'm like, dude, you got to be sharp in the morning. You don't want to be smelling like booze to all the customers. And it's just every year, I think hangovers get worse and worse and worse. So I just don't even do it anymore. But it is a lot of fun. It's just kind of a different fun, more of a torturous fun.
Yeah, right. So I don't know if you've listened to the episode with Rick Dorfmeyer. I think he was episode 22. He was my favorite rep to travel with to this day. And he used to say all the time, he goes, man, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I don't really have to go to work. All I got to do is travel around to different places and talk to all my friends about motorcycles all day long. And I've like soaked that in. That's really what I say to everybody, because I believe it, that it's the greatest thing. There's a lot of work involved, and sometimes it's not all glorious, but I love it. And it sounds like you do too, which is cool.
Yeah. So the prep, and the initial setup of the events and the rallies and stuff like that, that's where the work, the physical stuff, the exhausting stuff happens. But, once the rally starts and the bikes come in and the customers come in and, you help them out and get whatever they need done, or if they're broke down, you help them get fixed. You talk to them, you hear where they're from, you learn a little bit about them, and it's kind of neat. Or I don't really want to call them, friends, but we're all really friendly and just, I don't know, it's a really neat experience to be on the rally circuit, because it's, for the most part, you're just dealing with great people. You all have that common, love for the motorcycles or the industry or whatever. And then, you've got all your friends like, you and I have met through the years, and we're all suffering together. So that makes it more enjoyable.
For sure. And one thing I always like to point out to people too is we are dealing with people on vacation, right? There's a little bit of a different dynamic to the crowd that we're dealing with regularly than the people that are in the brick and mortar locations, because, they're talking to people that have to get their stuff fixed. They're, not everybody's on vacation when they go into a motorcycle shop. So you get a few crabby people. We don't see that too often on the road.
No, I'm not going to, say that they don't exist, because, you will get the people that are crabby, but generally speaking, it's always been a great experience for me with, dealing with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also rewarding too when you got somebody that's broken down and looking at having to rent a trailer to get home, or you can get them set up with whatever they need so that they can ride home again, and you much that affects them, and it improves their vacation, and you're really helping them have an experience on vacation is one thing that we get to do.
And I've gotten to see that where, we work with you guys quite often where people will come in and, yeah, like you say, they're going to be putting their bike on a trailer and you just happen to have what they need. Man, are they ever thankful?
Yeah, and that's where it's really rewarding too.
Yeah.
Obviously, being in the retail environment, we want to sell what we can, but just to help people too at the same time. That's where it's rewarding to me.
Yeah, for sure.
You outfit them with the latest and greatest gadgets, or stuff for safety if they have a bad tire or whatnot. Stuff that can really mess up your day. You go around the corner on a bad tire, especially out in some of these places where they have the rallies at, where you have the hairpin turns and windy roads, elevation changes. You want to make sure that you're in good stuff. So helping them be safe, and which also makes their experience better too. So,
yeah, for sure. How did you? So we talked about how you got into the industry. What was your first bike? First bike, progression of bikes. What are you riding today?
So my first bike, was dirt bikes as a young adult, and then due to not having a lot of cash when you're starting out a family and all that, I really didn't get my first touring and riding bike that I have until 2008. Yeah, 2008 when I got my first road glide, and I still have that bike. I call it a Harley Davidson now because there's really nothing on it that's Harley except for the Tims anymore. Working in the aftermarket industry, I've gotten it just the way I want it, and with all the some of the best equipment on there, and it's being it's an '07, so it's, what is this year? The 13-year-old bike.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it'd be older than that, wouldn't it? If it's an '07, it's 23. My math is just left me this morning.
So anyway, even though it's an older bike, it's still, I got great parts on it, and I upkeep on it, and can still ride it today. Well, not today because I just got a foot of snow the other day in Wisconsin.
Yeah, right.
So, it's a great bike, and I do want to get one of the new Milwaukee 8s. I like that bike from Harley, like a Road King or a Road Glide. Those two. I guess the list of bikes that I want to get is pretty long.
Yeah.
So I love the Honda Africa Twin, the ZX14. I would love to have one of those. So I don't know. I love looking at, talking to, riding any bike out there, So.
Yeah. So aside from motorcycles, what would be any other interests you have? Do you still fish every chance you can?
I don't fish as much as I'd like to, but I fish every chance I can get. I enjoy hunting, shooting sports. Yeah, just, being outdoors outside and stuff like that until nighttime. Then, I'm not someone that really likes camping or anything like that. I like my air conditioning and my big bed to sleep in at night. So.
Well, that's why God invented those things, so we can enjoy them.
Yes.
So tell us about your family.
So I have my wife, Christine, another one who I credit with shaping me into the decent human being that I am today. And I have 3 daughters. I have Haley, Maddie, and Cammie. And I have my dog, Mattis, and my wife has a dog, Eddie. So that's our family here at the house.
Your daughters are getting a little bit older now, right?
Yes. My oldest daughter is married, and I don't see how that even is possible. But my youngest daughter, she's away in college, or not my youngest, the middle one, Maddie, she's away at college right now. And then my youngest, she's driving, so they're getting, their moms are getting old.
Well, we won't tell her you said that.
No, I won't say it.
That's funny.
But dad's not. Mom is, but dad's not.
Right.
I'm still young, still bulletproof.
That's right. So you got to have some good stories from your times back in the original J&P stint.
Oh, geez, there's so many. Because it was just, and still today, I can tell you stories from every rally. They're so fun. Some of my big ones are, some of the key moments or really funny things that happened is, and this one has one of my kids in it too. So we had a display in the showroom in Animosa that was showing how a spark plug works. And something had happened where a wire had come undone. But anyway, you push the display and it would send voltage through the coil into the spark plug, and you can actually see it sparking in the display. And it had a video game button on it. So while I was messing with it, my daughter was standing there, and she just looks up in between me and sees that red button there when I'm holding on to the spark plug in my hand, not paying attention to what she's doing. And she lights me up, just zaps me to all hell with this coil and spark plug. I was like, whoa, what happened there? So that was a good one. Jeepers. There's, just, I touched briefly on my, when I left J&P Cycles and went to S&S, getting to, get into the more power part of the job, seeing the performance from all the stuff that, I'll say we made back then, getting to, work on and ride bikes with all the S&S engines in it and high performance parts. That was great, a great time for me. I'm trying to think of what would be another really funny moment. And I'm just getting all these little memories popping into my head, but I can't find one that just kind of stands out.
Well, when one screams at you, just blurt it out and tell me. So you left J&P and went to S&S for a while, right?
Yeah.
So explain the change in roles and what you did at S&S.
So when I left J&P, that was when I was the catalog merchant. We were the buyers for the product, and that's where you and I and your former employer had really dealt with each other quite a bit outside of me going and helping out the rallies and stuff like that. But I went to S&S to run the events program up there. The guy that had the job before me up there, he went over to the wrecking crew when the Indian Flat Track team launched.
Okay.
So that was my switch over there from J&P Cycles to S&S events, and working with Dave and John and Langley back then. That was a good time too. When I left there, I was kind of maxed out for my role as the events manager there. You know what I mean? It was like, I want a little bit more of a challenge in the events world.
Sure.
Like there's other stuff that I could have done at S&S, but I just think, I love the rallies and I love the travel and stuff like that. So for me to have any growth, it was kind of my natural progression to come back to J&P Cycles or Comoto and run the rally programs over there.
And that's what you're doing now. You wanted more of a challenge. You got it.
I got it. They always, it's funny because throughout all of my career, be careful what you ask for because you'll get it. Like when I asked Jill to take me to Sturgis, I got it. I got to go. Didn't know what I was getting into there. And, but it's, like I said, it's fun. I really enjoy it.
So explain what you're doing now, because it used to be, you always had the Daytona store. Now, this is just since I've been in the industry, on this side of the industry, rather. The Daytona store was year-round. The Animosa store was year-round, and you were there setting up for rallies and events. So those two are a little bit different than Sturgis, where you had to go in, set up, everything, like you said, in a month, and then tear it all back down in 2 weeks and give it back to the renter to sell cars out of. You weren't doing the truck stuff with J&P at that time, were you? There was a little bit of it, but you weren't involved.
So I would work on the truck. I would go to the events and work on the truck, from time to time, or go to Sturgis and help out at the rally and stuff like that. But I wasn't like the events manager or coordinator or anything like that. I did, a few years after, just when I first started J&P, I had that year that I was a receiver, and then I went to work in the showroom. And then a few years later, I was promoted to the supervisor there in the showroom, and then eventually manager. And then I got the role for the store manager in Daytona as well. So I was managing both retail stores out of Iowa, and I would just go down to Florida once a month and do everything I needed to there, or, thanks to the internet, I didn't have to be on site every day because we had a team there that was kind of running the show while I wasn't. But then I came to the max of my abilities as the retail manager there, and I couldn't, take it any further. So that's when I transitioned into the merch role and learned another part of the business, another part of the industry, which that one was really fun because it was, everybody remembers the J&P catalog from back then. So
oh yeah,
we could, pick the new parts to go in the catalog, lay it out, and, make sure that the stuff was on the website. And, that was really fun. So then I got to see and work with the vendors and suppliers more and, get to build relationships throughout the industry with all of those people, which was another stepping stone into where I'm at today. So with my relationships that I built as the merchant kind of helps me out with, keeping on the latest and greatest stuff on the rally rigs, getting supporting vendors to come out to the big rally in Sturgis and so J&P now, we're talking about having the two stores and then the pop-up, I will call it the pop-up store in Sturgis.
yeah.
So now we have the OG store, the OG J&P Cycles in Animosa, Iowa, Daytona, Florida. Sturgis is now open year round out there. And then there's Taylor, Michigan, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and Scottsdale, Arizona. So we have those brick and mortar stores everywhere.
Yeah.
Or not everywhere, but all those places.
I have not been to Michigan or Pigeon Forge, but that the store in Scottsdale is nice. That's a great store.
Yeah, well, we're putting on an event there in Pigeon Forge this spring, and we can consider this your formal invite.
Well, we should probably look at a calendar then and find out when that is.
No, we could definitely talk in Daytona. So.
Oh yeah, we will. You went to S&S, you were doing events for them, and then now, talk about what you're doing now with Comoto. You're not only running the J&P truck, but also the Revzilla truck. How many trucks, how many shows, how many venues are you responsible for?
Right now, we have, two trucks that we own and operate that will go out to 15 different events across the country. Some are going to be where, like Daytona, I'll have both trucks at the Speedway, and then we kind of split so that the Revzilla truck will be going to like the Coda race in Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas MotoGP race. We're putting on 2 Get On Adventure Fest for the adventure touring bikes. One's in Mojave, California, and the other one's at the Buffalo Chip in Sturgis.
Those are great events, and that's the reason that your next bike needs to be the Africa Twin, by the way. That's my vote.
Yes. No, so I just, hopefully when my wife listens to this podcast, she sees the importance of how important it is for me to have that bike.
It's unbelievably important because to see you riding it will make your trailers more successful at those events because people will be like, man, that guy's one of us because he's got this Honda Africa Twin brand new that's super nice. And you're just going to gain street cred, see? And then that's just going to translate into great profits, and your wife has to see that.
Yeah. So
how am I doing?
Remember that when you listen to this stuff. You're doing great. Thank you for the assist on that, Craig. But yeah, so then the J&P truck, we'll be doing, the next on the list for us after Bike Week this year is Arizona Bike Week. We'll be at our Scottsdale location. And now that you put me on the spot, I can't go to the list. But then we'll be going across to our deal in Pigeon Forge at the end of April, and then
you'll be at You'll be at Myrtle Beach. Then you'll be at Americade at the end of April. So you're going to go there, and then Myrtle Beach. Yeah.
No. So it'll be Myrtle Beach, then Americade, then Laconia, then Sturgis. And
yes, you're correct.
After Sturgis, we wrap up our fiscal year. So we'll be the end of this season in Ocean City, Delmarva.
That's in
the end of the J&P Cycles season.
Okay. Yeah. I've never done the Delmarva event.
Oh, it's a great event. One of my favorites.
That one we'll have to look into. So at these events, now explain setup. Now you're running semis, and those things don't set themselves up. How many guys, how long does it take? And then you got to get all your product in there and out on display. Explain that process to people.
So the setups and displays really depend from rally to rally. So like when we go down to Daytona, it's pretty straightforward. We're going to be working with a couple others in the industry that will be setting up their semi. I don't know if I can mention them here, but so we'll be the J&P semi or the J&P mobile store. We'll have, 2 semis and 4 vendors, supporting vendors with tents there. But that all pops up in one day. The Revzilla truck, being that this is my first go around setting the truck up and really getting to know my brand new crew on that truck. I wanted to have a day and a half set up on that one, just because there's only really one person that's been that's on that crew that set that truck up before. So it'll be teaching and training and showing people how to do it, because we have a dedicated crew of people that we're pulling from different stores or the call center from all across, Revzilla, J&P Cycles, Cycle Gear, all we all converge in the one city and make it happen. So Daytona for the Revzilla truck and crew is going to be an extra day of setup, but it's going to be training to show everybody how to get the truck set and in place.
Sure. Cool.
And then everything gets torn down in one day at the end of the rally.
It's funny how fast that comes down and gets crammed back into that truck. When you see it set up, it does not look like it would all fit in that trailer, but it always does.
Yeah. Well, we do ship, I'll have a full trailer of inventory coming down, because, we're limited by space and weight on the semis of what we can haul.
Sure.
And through a 2-week event for, Daytona or Myrtle or Laconia and stuff like that, I can't fit everything on the truck. So I have to ship in another trailer of inventory, so, supporting inventory and things.
Right. But when you pack it all up, you don't ship anything out, do you? Not usually?
So out of the full trailer that we send down there, we'll probably send back 2 to 3 pallets of stuff, because
I did not know that.
There's no magic, crystal ball that tells me, that this is everything we're going to sell. We have a great idea. So we have built, history and data from years prior. So we have a good idea of what's going to move, but, trends change, people's favorite brands change, regulations change. So, things kind of fluctuate a little bit. So, and I always like to err on the side of caution, and I would rather send back a pallet or 2 of inventory than just be emptying out of
for
some
sure.
really important stuff.
For sure.
But with that being said, too, we do have the ability to reorder and restock if something that we, let's say this new widget this year sells better than it ever has before, or it's brand new and we didn't know what to expect. If we sell out of it, the first weekend, we have the ability to get stuff shipped in and grab the inventory. So I don't know, it's a juggling act,
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that you guys do that I have seen is if they show up to buy something and you happen to be sold out, you ship it to their house for free, don't you?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
and it doesn't. We don't even have to be out of stock on it. If it's something that they just want to get it when they're home, we'll still ship it for free. So even if we have it sitting there, we'll ship one home to them for free.
Okay.
It won't come off the truck, but it'll come out of our warehouse and go right to their house. And depending on how early on in the rally it is, it'll probably beat them home.
Yeah, seen that happen. Well, cool. So you kind of alluded to what you got coming up this summer. You're going to be really busy. 15 events, and our season, I always kind of do backwards math on this. Our season is only about 7 months long, right? So we got between 25 and 30 available weekends. Half of those are eaten up with events. Yeah,
so April, May, June, I don't even know why I bother with a mortgage.
Because your wife needs somewhere to be home and happy and make sure she guards that Africa twin.
Oh, yeah. Her and the dog. Yeah, I forgot about that. No.
Yeah.
But no, it's like you said, it's a short window that we get to cram all this stuff in. And we do have a couple of there'll be technically next season's events, but it'll be, Galveston down at the Lone Star Rally, which is another really good event for us.
Mm-hmm. So busy. Keep moving.
Yep, semper opus, always working.
Right. Let's see. That's like, we've went through your whole life in a nutshell. Is there anything I missed? Anything you want to mention? Any funny stories? Any good things pop into your head that we need to hear?
Not without me okaying it through some of the other affected people. But
the names could be changed to protect the innocent.
Yeah, and don't worry, I don't have dirt on anybody, but
No.
It's just funny stories that could be a little bit embarrassing. But it's I don't know, it's a challenging job. I'm really enjoying it, and I don't know, I think I feel really really lucky to kind of be in the industry. And you touched on a lot of the people that we do deal with are on vacation and they're happy, and just being, depending on where you're geographically located, some people can have, the people down south that don't have the weather that we do here in the north, they can ride their bikes all year. So it's kind of neat to be able to be something that, just generally for a big chunk of the country that enjoys motorcycling, we're helping them do something that they enjoy. So, and building that on, bringing on new riders, getting kids hooked on it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exciting. I love it. I couldn't think of a better field to be in.
I would agree.
Except for maybe the guy that, tests couches and watches TV as a job, but.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I
have never seen that. I have never seen that posted anywhere. A professional hunter, a professional fisherman, something along those lines.
Yeah, and you have to be really good at that.
But then it would boil down to its work too. So
yeah, at least these jobs we don't have to be that good at them.
No,
we're going to be fairly good, but
so that's where my strong point is I'm not the best, I'm not the smartest, but I do have the best and the smartest that work for me or can help me out. So.
Yep.
Yeah. I just surround myself with people that are better at my job than me.
That's the way to do it. So that leads us to the 5 questions. I know you've listened to some of the shows. So the 5 questions are completely random. I don't know if you've heard that now I have 20 questions and I put all the numbers into a randomizer wheel and spin the wheel and you get what comes up. You ready for those?
I'm ready. Hit me.
All right. Question number 1. What topic would you speak about if you were asked to give a TED Talk on something outside of your main area of expertise?
Let's take a couple seconds to think about this. So my main area, outside of my main area of expertise, I don't know, my kids turned out to be pretty awesome. So I think I'm very successful at bringing up great kids. So parenting.
The TED Talk on parenting. Perfect. Perfect. Question number 2. Do you have a quote that you live your life by or that you think of often?
Oh, man. Like I touched on this really early on, right on where we started talking about the military. And so I'd have to say Semper Fidelis, always faithful.
Yeah. When I was reading the question, that's what I was thinking your answer would be.
So it's just, and that's just, with to my friends, to my family, to my career, it's just being the best me that I can be and always being true to them and not wanting to bring any kind of shadow onto my name for doing any of that stuff. So just always faithful, I think, will be my motto, my core.
I love it. Question number 3, a belief of yours or whatever, but what have you changed your mind about in the last few years and why?
What have I changed my mind on? I don't want to really get into details of it, but I have changed my point of view on a lot of stuff politically, just from talking, listening, and, wearing other people's shoes. So I would say something that I've changed my mind on is to not have any preformed opinions on people for their political views because I don't know their stories. I don't know their life. You know what I mean? So
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't let the people you see on TV, fill you full of crap on how bad it is, because you go out and just see that everybody's just, everybody's in their own struggle,
Yeah.
So it's, just don't be a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. But not only everybody's in their own struggle, but the world's pretty goddamn good when you get out of the house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good going on out there.
You get behind the windshield of a motorcycle and there's so much good. And it's not just a motorcycle, but you get out and you see so much good, and turn off the TV and talk to people, get off the nonstop social media and just talk to people, and you'll realize that we're not that different.
Yeah.
And, you might have some differences but it's not that we're all just on this rock floating through space out of control, that we're all just trying to get by,
Yep. Perfect. Let's see. Number 4. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
So you said it could be anything and anywhere.
Whatever you want it to say. Yep.
Take advantage of your youth.
Take advantage of your youth?
Yep. You
like how I just sit here dead silent with no hints?
Yeah, I just oh God. Well, no, because then that gives it it gives me time to think about it, and it it makes your podcast legit. Like, you're not leading me into anything.
Right.
So I'm sorry for the dead air, Craig, but
that's all edited out.
Never, ever, ever, ever thought of my answer to that question before.
Right.
So
yeah, that's what triggering. That's what these are for.
You're triggering new brainwaves.
Okay, well, this one maybe you've heard, a belief of yours, right? So what is something you believe that other people think is insane?
You may know that I am a huge flat earther. No, I'm just kidding. I do not believe that.
I was going to say, I didn't know that.
No, I'm not. I think that's ridiculous.
That's funny.
But one belief that I think that one belief that I think we can do better. Could you read that one more time for me, just to make sure?
Yep. The question is, what is something you believe that other people think is insane?
I do believe that there is other life in the universe that is not, here on Earth. So I do believe that there is life on other planets and other solar systems, other galaxies and stuff like that. I don't see how it could possibly not be, with just the sheer number of planets, stars, galaxies out there that we can even see. There has to be something. We can't be the only thing out there.
That's insane. I'm just kidding. I tend to be on your side with that one. So,
and I'm not saying that nobody believes that or anything, but there are people that
there are.
Yeah.
The surprising amount of people that think we're it. This is it. Everything's on this planet.
Well, to the point, we are it. We are it that we know of. So,
see, I don't even believe that. But I think there's enough evidence of other life that we don't have to doubt it anymore.
And I'm not talking about just little green flying little green space people and flying saucers and stuff like that. But there's got to be planets with animals and intelligent life and stuff like that. So there has to be.
Yep. Cool. Well, those were the 5 questions. I think you did well. Before we wrap this up, do you have any last or final parting words for the listeners?
No, I thank you guys for all sitting through this and listening to me ramble on about myself. Craig, thank you for having me on. I was humbled when you invited me on, so I greatly appreciate it. And that I really like that you thought that would be interesting enough to fill your podcast for an episode. So
absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great guy, and I know there's a story in the industry, and like I said, we've gotten to know each other and become friends through the years, so it's a pleasure to have you on, and I'm glad you were able to join me. Where can people follow you? Instagram, Facebook? Are you on any of the socials?
I am, but I kind of use them more to kind of just see what people are saying. I got off the posting stuff to social media a while ago. It's just, there's a lot of noise out there for
Sure.
me. I really like watching how it's done videos and stuff like that. But you can follow me. It's T-Rizzle, Fashizzle, My Bizzle on Instagram. Shout out to Snoop Doggy Dog there. But then it's just Troy Porter on Facebook. But yeah, like I don't post a whole lot on there. The best way to follow me is to get behind J&P Cycles or Revzilla Semi and meet me on the road.
Cool. I'll share links to your Instagram and Facebook page. And, you got to start posting. We need to know what you're having for lunch these days. So.
All right. Well, the stuff that I do. So I one other thing. Oh, God, I forgot to tell you how much I enjoy to cook.
Oh, yeah, you do. That's right. You always have the grill.
Yeah. So I have that was one thing that they loved, I think, when I was on the S&S crew. Was I took my pellet grill smoker on the road, and I'd just haul it around in the semi with us, and we'd have great grilled food, and we wouldn't have to go wait for hours in restaurants at the rallies, and especially during the pandemic where you didn't know if the restaurant was going to be open or crowded or full of people and stuff like that. So that really helped out. So, but yeah, you'll probably see anything that I post is going to be stuff that I cook for dinner, and I don't have a specific thing that I really like to cook more than anything. Traditional American. I love to cook Mexican food, Italian food, Asian. So I'll go Indonesian, Chinese, Japanese. I don't know. I think it's just so fun to cook. So that would be my biggest hobby that I have left after the industry is cooking. Cool. Why did I wait till the end of the podcast to bring that up?
I don't know, but now I'm hungry. So if we get to join you at one of those fine cooking festivities in Daytona, I'll make sure I post it, which will be out. The post would come out before this podcast, so then we may have to delay that until an event further down the season.
All right. Well, so unfortunately, I won't be cooking in Daytona. We're staying we had to stay at hotels. There was no Airbnbs or VRBOs close enough for us. But Craig, if you do Myrtle Beach or any other rally when I have a night where I have a kitchen, I will definitely invite you over.
Sounds like a plan. On that note, we'll wrap it up. Folks, if you like what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. You can follow the adventures on Facebook or Instagram by looking for The Real Wild Ass. Of course, I am Wild Ass Craig. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks. And of course, thank you again, Troy, for coming on the show.
No problem, Craig. I greatly appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.